Senator Tom Omara and Hornell IDA Director Jim Griffin in Segment 1, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano in Segment 2. Well, this week in the news, the big story was that U.S. Senator Charles Schumer announced the Alstom-Amtrak deal. It has not been signed yet. They won't hear the final details, or they won't hear about the signing for some months now. Another big story this week, that was from the St. James Board of Directors. Hornell businessman Pete Wall, who's on the St. James board, told WLEA News that the bed census numbers are up at St. James. Now on to talk these and other issues today, State Senator Tom Omara. Senator, thanks for calling in.
Great to be with you this morning, Brian. Thanks for having me.
And also Hornell Industrial Development Agency Director Jim Griffin. Jim, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Brian. Thanks for asking.
First off, wanted to get Senator O'Mara's thoughts on the big announcement about Alstom this week.
Well, it's certainly a very positive announcement. Unfortunately, the way the rail car industry works across the southern tier, we've got a great base for that with Alstom and Hornell and CAF and Omara, former Bombardier in the Bath area. These entities live and die by the contract. So it's very encouraging news to see that this is happening. And I don't want to build everybody's hopes up that this is something that's going to happen tomorrow. Because I think as Jim can expound upon, we've got a ways to go here to get this all in place. But very encouraging to see the senator come into town and make such an announcement with his confidence behind this moving forward. And it's great for investment in the community and certainly the great jobs that are going to be created during the course of this contract.
Well, I think the same thing. We've been working on this as Senator Omara is well aware for almost 2 years now, and we've had the support of our state officials and our federal officials, and also Alstom. Alstom has been very aggressive in pursuing this contract and continue to be, and we hope that down the line, any of these deals, I know Senator and I spoke once before, these are all wonderful, and we're all up about it and everything, community-wise, all across the southern tier. But a lot of work to be done yet, and we're going to rely very heavily on our state and federal officials to make sure that the things that need to be done to get the ink on, on the contracts are done. And so we're anxiously awaiting those events to take place, and that'll be a while down the road. But one thing I did want to mention, I don't get an opportunity a lot of times to talk with Tom on there, but our Senator, Tom Omara, has been so supportive of our chamber and our activities with job training programs here in Hornell over the years, and just this past year got us another $150,000 in on-the-job training funds for new hires, and the majority of this money to date has been spent on new hires at Alstom, and we're very grateful to Senator Omara for his efforts in keeping us there with that money. It's been great.
Well, thank you, Jim. It's very nice of you to comment on it. I wasn't expecting that, but obviously workforce development is something that we all work on and struggle with in every industry, and it's something that's on the top of the list of things that we need to work on, and I'm just glad to be able to see that you guys are putting this funding to such positive and productive use.
And something that I understand from Jim Griffin, Senator Omara, something that I understand that you've been involved with. Jim Griffin has had an idea for some time now about a high-speed rail center for excellence, and to have it in Hornell, and for it to be somehow connected with the Alstom facility and the old SKF building. Senator Omara or Jim Griffin, whoever wanted to weigh in on that topic, the high-speed center, rail center for excellence in Hornell, this idea that Jim Griffin has.
Well, I can just say that we just sent that in, our final. This is for the upstate revitalization, which Senator Omara is certainly one of the ones that's pushing to get the Southern Tier in one of the awardees, I guess, that you would, of the governor's Upstate Revitalization Act. And in that, we have a substantial amount of money to create a center for advanced transit engineering in our whole region. And again, like the senator said, we got CAF and we got TTA and we got GMI and we got a whole bunch of suppliers to that in our region. And it would create a center where we could bring on minority business enterprises, women business, veterans. We'd have advanced training and utilize Alfred University, Binghamton University, Cornell, RIT. So it's a great concept, and in order to bring that to fruition, we're going to need a lot of help. That isn't going to happen in an afternoon either. So thanks.
And I think we've got a really solid Upstate Revitalization Initiative proposal for the Southern Tier Regional Council. I've reviewed it. It's been approved by the council, and I think we've got a strong chance, particularly with the hard times that are upon the Southern Tier, and that the governor has himself mentioned many times how difficult times are in the Southern Tier. That puts us in good stead to be one of the top winners of the Upstate Revitalization Funds, which would be great for the entire Southern Tier. And with this high-speed rail center for excellence in Hornell makes complete sense with the expertise that's there with Alstom.
And Senator, how much is that money that an area would win?
It is, if you're a winner, one of the top three winners, you get $120 million a year for 5 years. So a total of $500 million. Now, there was a lot of discussion early on in this, and it was called the so-called Hunger Games, with why not spread the money evenly over all the regions, and I was more of a proponent with that, but the governor did come up with softening that somewhat, that if you're not an outright winner of one of the three, you get $90 million a year for your region, which is greater than the regions were getting that won just through the CFA process in prior years. So while there's still three winners that get more over that period, even the losers are going to stand to get more than any region has got before. So the dollars are going to be there to do a lot of things, and it's very important.
Hornell IDA Director Jim Griffin and State Senator Tom Omara, our guests here in segment one of Top Story. Senator Omara and Jim Griffin, we interviewed Pete Wall from the Hornell St. James Board of Directors. He was on WLEA earlier in the week, and he said that the numbers of inpatients, it's getting a lot better at the Hornell Hospital. He said now it's up to between 15 and 20 beds a day. Senator Omara, I'm guessing that's welcome news.
Absolutely, it's welcome news to see some greater consistency in the utilization of the hospital. I think that bodes well for the future of St. James and its affiliation with strong U of R. So that is certainly welcome news, and really is great for healthcare in the Hornell region.
Hornell IDA Director Jim Griffin, with the good news from Alstom and St. James recently, does each piece of news from Alstom and St. James help each other build the other company? Because, Alstom's workforce and management, they would all want a strong hospital, and a better local economy from a big project coming to Alstom from Amtrak would no doubt be good news for St. James as well. Your thoughts there, Jim Griffin?
Well, St. James has always been a cornerstone for Hornell, and of course you can't attract industry unless you have good health care. And we've been horribly concerned about that over the last few years with all the consternation down there. And now what you're seeing, I think, is that the people are coming back. They were in such turmoil for a while that they were going other places to get their services, and we felt that way. And now this is the proof of the pudding, is that once you put in place a good, legitimate health care center like U of R is doing here in Hornell, we'll see our people come back, and we urge our people to utilize the hospital. I mean, we had two hospitals at one time here, and we've got to get our people back, start supporting our doctors, and supporting our whole medical facilities here in Hornell, and that's crucial. People are going to drive this thing, and I mean, as numbers increase, the more money will be spent on health care in the Hornell area, and the better off we all are. And we definitely need it when you're talking to companies like from France that are bringing people here. And just one comment I have is Alstom has brought many families here from France, and we met with the school the other day, and they're going to be doing some work on some more French teaching in the course. But I tell a lot of our citizens that there are a lot of French families in our area, and if you run into them, we'd ask you to reach out to them, show them what Hornellians are like, and welcome them into our community. It's difficult for a family to be relocated from a country to another country, but let's show them our Hornell hospitality and reach out and ask them to join, and whatever we can do to help them.
I would just add on what Jim just said about the hospitality. I really think we're known for that in Hornell and across the southern tier. You know, whenever I have family from out of town or friends from out of town that come and visit, you know, it's consistent. They remark. I don't bring it up, and people just remark about how friendly the people are that they run into in stores or whatever in the area. So it's critical to be a very welcoming and hospitable, as Jim said, and that helps across the board with our quality of life and with building our economy.
Well, Senator Omara and Hornell IDA Director Jim Griffin, I want to thank you both very much for coming on today.
Thank you,
Brian.
Okay, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano coming up next. Back on Top Story, I'm Brian O'Neill. In the last segment, we spoke with Senator Tom Omara and Hornell Industrial Development Agency Director Jim Griffin. Now here in segment 2, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano on to talk minimum wage, the Pope's trip, and other issues. Assemblyman, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brian. Good to be with you again.
First off, wanted to ask you, there's a new state labor commissioner, Roberta Reardon. Any thoughts on her?
Well, Brian, I don't know a lot about her. I haven't just heard the announcement, but certainly I hope this labor commissioner takes the time to talk to business people, small business owners, restaurant owners, people who run a business before they start putting more mandates and increased costs for our business community. Obviously, that's what we saw with the last labor commissioner, who probably had no business experience. Didn't talk to business people, but certainly felt the need to increase the wages 50% for restaurant owners with tipped workers, and then we're talking another large increase, over 70% for fast food industry, without legislative approval. And that's very concerning to me and a number of my colleagues. I think the new labor commissioner should certainly try to talk to the very people we want to invest and create jobs here, so we have good paying jobs for people, because I'm concerned with the approach we're going. We're going to see a lot of those jobs go away because the cost is going to be too much of a burden for the small business community, the small business owner. Like I said, the very people we need to invest and create jobs, because most of the jobs are created by small business, less than 10 employees. And this is going to have a negative impact, I think, with this dramatic increase in the minimum wage across the board, and then another push to do it again by the governor. So hopefully this new labor commissioner, I wish them well, but hopefully they listen and go out and talk to the small business community and the small business owners out there and hear the struggles that they're having to keep their business and their doors open, because that's something we need to have and be able to invest and stay open so we have jobs for our people to be here, live here, and raise a family here.
Read online somewhere that the new state labor commissioner there, Roberta Reardon, has strong ties to the national unions. I'm guessing that they're all in favor of a $15 an hour minimum wage. So I'm kind of thinking probably Roberta Reardon won't be your answer to the minimum wage, to blocking minimum wage from going up any higher than it is already. Assemblyman, the governor argues that, corporations can make billions of dollars. Why can't they share a little bit of that with the employees who work the day-to-day and make it happen, as opposed to the business suits who are making all the money? What do you say to that argument?
I say walk down Main Street in Hornell or Market Street in Corning and talk to the small business owners. They're not making billions of dollars. They're barely staying afloat with the burdensome taxes and regulations that continue to be placed upon them that continues not to be relieved by any stretch, but continues to add more and more burden. When you increase the minimum wage, it's a direct cost increase to the business owner. And when we don't relieve any of the burdensome regulations that are placed on the business owner, in addition to the cost, they have to put the cut somewhere if they're going to stay afloat. These business owners, these small business owners, these are people working 70, 80 hours a week, have some of them second mortgages on their home to keep their business afloat. These are people who invested in their community and want to provide jobs to people in the community. But when you have a bureaucrat from Albany or Washington saying this is the way we're going to do things and we know best, when they have no idea the cost of running a business, I'm concerned about that. So what I say to the governor, what I say to the new labor commissioner, come to these small communities, talk to a small business owner on Main Street in Hornell, on Market Street in Corning, on Liberty Street in Bath. Talk to them and see that they're not making billions of dollars. They're just barely staying afloat to keep their doors open. And the more businesses we shut, we're going to continue to be ranked 49th and 50th in business climate and not a place that's attracted to do business. Then we aren't going to have jobs here. Then the cycle of dependency is going to be more and more people on unemployment, more and more people on welfare because there's going to be no jobs for people to be here because people aren't going to make those private sector investments, which we need to create jobs.
Talking with Assemblyman Phil Palmesano, wanted to touch on a state issue. Republican New York State Chairman Ed Cox is staying on as the GOP Chairman. Your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously, I think he was the only one in contention. There were some rumors about other people getting in the mix. Listen, I know Ed. I like Ed, but certainly we need to have more success on the statewide level with our candidates. And Ed's certainly going to try to work hard on that, I hope. We need to have some success at the statewide level. We're going to the 16th presidential year, which is always difficult for Republicans, especially in New York. I think it's very critical that we have success next year, particularly in keeping the state Senate in Republican control, because the last thing we need is the Democrats to control both houses of the legislature and the governor. Then I'd really be concerned about what's going to happen in the state. It's already been bad enough in some of these policies. It will get much worse. So it's important that we keep a Republican state Senate. It's important that we find a good candidate, obviously for the presidential side of things. But it's even more important as we get closer to 2018, we have a candidate that's up and running with a support system and a financial system in place to help support our candidate, whoever that may be for governor.
Speaking of Republican politics, Friday morning, House Speaker John Boehner in Washington announced that he's going to resign from the leadership position at the end of October. Did you have any thoughts on that?
No, I didn't. Listen, being in leadership is a tough position, and, whatever his reasons are, I didn't see the reasons why what he listed, but certainly wish him well. And certainly whoever is going to get in that position is going to have to try to bring people together to solve problems. It's not enough just to point fingers. It's not enough to just thump on your chest and saying this is the way it's going to be. People want problems solved, and they want us to work together to solve those problems. And certainly Mr. Boehner the Speaker Boehner had some divisions within his own conference. I mean, we have divisions within our conference on issues as well, and that's no different for Democrats and Republicans. The goal is to try to bring people together, to try to find a common solution to solve the problems, address the issues that are facing people. That's what people want us to do. They want us to work together and solve problems. They don't want us just to point fingers saying it's your fault or that person's fault, because all that turns into, when you do that, Brian, is a blame game, and then it turns into all our faults because we're all responsible. All of us in elected positions are responsible for what's going on, and if we're not speaking up, if we're not trying to work together, that doesn't help anybody, and that's not what we should be doing. We should be trying to work our best to bring people together, to solve problems, to improve the quality of life of the people we represent, the people of this state, and the people of this country. And the only way we're going to do that is if we work together, to be respectful of other people's opinions, but certainly fight for your principles. Don't compromise on your principles, but certainly on policy, we can work to compromise on policy while not compromising on principle. I firmly believe you can do that. I've seen us do that before, and we need to do that in the future.
You mentioned the Pope's trip earlier in the interview. Did you have any thoughts on the Pope's trip to Washington and New York?
I think it's fantastic. I actually had a chance to watch his address to Congress, and I had goosebumps. I'm not going to lie to you. It was I was watching it from start to finish, and I just think, I saw him, and I just imagine what him speaking to the members in Congress, about responsibilities. But I don't think Brian, it was just him speaking to Congress. I think he was speaking to everyone in the country, not just speaking to electors, just speaking to our souls about we all have a responsibility to try to do something to help those who are less fortunate, to do something to help bring people up. Government can't do everything, but government can certainly be a partner to our not-for-profits to do so much in our local communities. Faith in Action is celebrating 20 years of service to the area. The other night, I was at Pro Action in Yates County, 50 years providing services to the people who need in the area. Organizations like Catholic Charities who do so much for our community. These not-for-profits, our government, we have to partner and look to try to find ways, but also as individuals. There's so much we can do as individuals to reach out, give a hand up, help out, looking out for your neighbor, looking out for a veteran who might be alone, or a senior citizen who might be alone. There's so much we can do to make our communities better. And I think faith is such a big important part of that. You rely on that faith that we have and reach out and care for one another, love your neighbor. We can make this community, your community, our state and country a better place to live, in spite of what does or doesn't happen from a political perspective in Washington or Albany.
Okay, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano, I want to thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Brian.
And also our thanks to Hornell IDA Director Jim Griffin and State Senator Tom Omara for being in Segment 1. I'm Brian O'Neill. Stay with us. ABC is next.